The movie opens with Cairo, a teenager living by herself in her parents' spacious home in the quiet Tennessee countryside. Her parents, both prominent lawyers, are frequently away for work, leaving Cairo to take care of herself. Each morning, she confidently pulls on her favorite tall boots and short skirt, striding through the woods on her way to school, as if the world belongs to her. At school, Mr. Jonathan Miller, her middle-aged teacher, is already waiting in class. He carries an air of melancholy, his dream of becoming a famous author still unfulfilled. To Cairo, he's more than just a teacher. He's a father figure. Though she harbors a small crush on him, Cairo often gets to class before her peers. One morning, Jonathan compliments her punctuality and encourages her to get started on the semester's reading list. Cairo, with a knowing smirk, surprises him by revealing that she's already read all 12 books. Their conversation shifts into an animated discussion about literature, showcasing her sharp intellect. Just as their chat deepens, Cairo's friend Winnie, who is repeating the grade, shows up. Winnie playfully pulls Cairo away to the cafeteria, leaving Jonathan alone to glance at the books on her desk. As Jonathan browses through the pile, his friend Boris walks in. Spotting one of the books, Boris can't resist teasing Jonathan by reciting a steamy passage aloud. Jonathan, embarrassed, tries to stop him before it gets too inappropriate, but Boris keeps joking. Then, Boris notices something unexpected: a copy of one of Jonathan's own published books in Cairo's pile. Surprised and flattered, Jonathan can't help but feel impressed. Later that evening, Jonathan returns home to find his wife, Beatrice, glued to her computer as usual. He attempts to strike up a conversation, eager to share his excitement about a student appreciating his work, but Beatrice barely responds, too engrossed in her tasks. Just as he starts to get her attention, Beatrice's co-worker Amy calls, pulling her away from their conversation. After the call, Jonathan tries again, this time flirting with Beatrice to lighten the mood. They share a couple of drinks and the tension between them starts to fade. But just as things begin to get romantic, another call from Amy interrupts, leaving Jonathan frustrated and on edge. The next day, Jonathan vents to Boris about how Amy's interruptions ruined his weekend and the moment he was hoping to share with Beatrice. Boris, as usual, teases him about the situation and distracts him with some trivial updates about his own life. During their chat, they notice Cairo emerging from the woods. Jonathan, still feeling tense, can't help but glance at her as she approaches. Cairo, unaware of anything unusual, smiles politely after removing her headphones. Trying to clear his head, Jonathan strikes up a light-hearted conversation with Cairo. Meanwhile, Winnie approaches Boris, pretending she accidentally dropped her belongings nearby. Boris instantly sees through her act, but Cairo calls Winnie out on her boldness. Winnie, unbothered, shifts the conversation and starts tossing out ideas for Cairo's essay. Cairo, however, finds them uninspiring. Suddenly, Winnie suggests something unexpected. Cairo could flirt with teachers to gather inspiration for her writing. Taken aback, Cairo questions the suggestion, noting the awkwardness of the age gap. Winnie, ever confident, brushes off her concerns and reassures her that it would be fine. She even hints that Jonathan might notice Cairo in a way that feels different. Winnie suggests that Cairo might feel more comfortable connecting with someone older, explaining that a mature, experienced partner could offer understanding and a positive experience. At first, Cairo feels hesitant, but Winnie's playful encouragement sparks her curiosity. In the days that follow, Cairo finds herself thinking about Jonathan more often. Her curiosity grows, and she begins to long for something deeper. During class, her eyes frequently wander toward him, her thoughts drifting. One day, Jonathan discreetly approaches her and whispers, asking her to meet him in his office after the bell. When Cairo arrives, Jonathan is finishing up a chat with Boris, inviting him over for dinner. Boris accepts and leaves, just as Cairo steps inside. Cairo catches Jonathan mid-dance, practicing some moves. Embarrassed but amused, he laughs it off and playfully shows off his steps to her. They share a light-hearted moment before their conversation turns to Winnie. Jonathan mentions how much he appreciates their friendship and gently inquires about Cairo's home life. Jonathan praises Cairo's recent writing, impressed by her ability to capture specific phrases with precision. Recognizing her potential, he challenges her to write a short story in the style of her favorite author. If she succeeds, he promises, she'll pass the semester. Cairo eagerly accepts and surprises him by reciting a line from one of his own published works. Jonathan is delighted and admits that the book she referenced was his first published work, making her recognition of it particularly meaningful to him. Taking her enthusiasm seriously, Jonathan invites Cairo to meet over the weekend to discuss her story idea further. At the meeting spot, Jonathan sneaks up behind her, catching her off guard. They exchange smiles and chat as Jonathan comments on how much they've grown as writers during their discussions. A poet named Elliot performs nearby, and as Jonathan listens intently, Cairo keeps stealing glances at him. Later, they critique Elliot's poetry together, exchanging ideas and opinions. Cairo offers Jonathan a cigarette and he accepts, the two sharing the moment with easy conversation. On a new school day, Cairo decides to switch up her look and brings coffee for Boris and Jonathan. Her newfound confidence is evident as they joke around, and she even shares a cigarette with them. Later, Cairo tells Winnie that while Jonathan didn't explicitly comment on her new appearance, she could tell he noticed it. During one of their discussions, Cairo shares her plan to write her story in the style of Henry Miller, a renowned author known for exploring themes of love and intimacy. Jonathan hesitates at first, worried the choice could stir up trouble at school. But Cairo insists it will make her story more compelling, and after some thought, Jonathan decides to trust her and gives her the go-ahead. While Jonathan is reviewing her idea, his phone buzzes with a text from his wife, Beatrice, inviting him on a weekend getaway. Distracted by thoughts of his wife, Jonathan hurriedly approves Cairo's concept without much deliberation as she approaches to discuss it. Later, when they're alone, Winnie teases Cairo, joking that she's trying to seduce their professor. She exaggerates Cairo's actions for comedic effect, making Cairo laugh. One day, Cairo frantically searches for her missing phone, while Jonathan is repeatedly interrupted by calls from Amy about their delayed weekend trip. To his surprise, his phone rings, and it's Cairo's voice he hears. She had accidentally left her phone in his bag. As they talk, Jonathan's wife, Beatrice, grows increasingly irritated by the postponed getaway. Trying to ease the tension, Jonathan volunteers to return Cairo's phone to her house, agreeing quickly despite the stormy weather. While driving, a heavy rainstorm begins. When he arrives, he sees Cairo walking outside in the pouring rain, wearing a strikingly seductive dress. Their eyes meet, and the moment grows charged with intensity. As she approaches him, they embrace, sharing a deep, passionate kiss. Afterward, Jonathan finds it impossible to stop thinking about Cairo. Suddenly, she sends him her midterm story, jolting him back to reality. Beatrice, preoccupied with her own concerns, brushes off his attempts to engage her and tells him to stop distracting her. Seeking clarity, Jonathan retreats to a small house nearby and prints out Cairo's story. As he reads it, he becomes completely absorbed in her mature and provocative narrative, imagining Cairo in the scenes she describes. Overwhelmed by a mix of emotions, he turns to Beatrice for intimacy, hoping to ground himself. The next day, Cairo arrives at class, dressed provocatively, but Jonathan's demeanor toward her is noticeably colder. His usual warmth is absent, and Cairo quickly senses the shift. Concerned, she asks if something is wrong. Jonathan admits his disappointment with her story, calling its special themes inappropriate for a school assignment. While he acknowledges her skillful storytelling, he expresses discomfort with grading such work, worried about the message it could send to other students. Cairo tries to explain that her story isn't as special as he interprets, but Jonathan refuses to hear her out. He dismisses both her story and the connection they've shared, telling her he regrets trusting her. Hurt and furious, Cairo retaliates by calling his writing uninspired and average. Provoked, she dares him to fail her. Their argument escalates, with Cairo accusing Jonathan of being jealous of her creativity. Jonathan, attempting to remain professional, reiterates the importance of maintaining boundaries in their teacher-student relationship. Feeling betrayed, Cairo storms out, leaving her story in the administrative mailbox. That evening, Jonathan discusses Cairo's story with Beatrice. The narrative touches on a complex teacher-student dynamic and explores the student's personal growth, leaving him conflicted. Meanwhile, Cairo spends the night drinking with Winnie, venting her frustrations. As the drinks flow, they become playful and take silly photos together, even joking about teasing Boris. Suddenly, Jonathan receives a call from the principal's office. Beatrice hands him the phone, and the principal accuses him of having an inappropriate relationship with Cairo. Stunned, Jonathan denies the allegations and tries to reassure Beatrice. However, Beatrice warns him of the severe consequences, emphasizing that his career and their marriage could be at stake. The next day, Cairo skips class to attend a meeting with the principal. While Jonathan continues teaching, Winnie looks visibly distressed by Cairo's absence. After class, she approaches Jonathan, expressing how much Cairo means to her and urging him to consider her side. Jonathan, emotionally withdrawn, brushes her off, unwilling to engage. As Cairo's actions unfold, Jonathan is summoned to a meeting with school management. Both he and Cairo are questioned in detail about their interactions in class and outside of school. Cairo's answers suggest a deeper connection, leaving Jonathan deeply worried about his career and reputation. Cairo's consistent implications lead the principal to suspend Jonathan. As he exits the meeting, Boris intercepts him, expressing disappointment and cautioning him to respect boundaries moving forward. His advice, though earnest, leaves Jonathan feeling even more isolated. At home, Jonathan informs Beatrice about the suspension, but hesitates to reveal everything. Under her pressing questions, he eventually confesses to having feelings for Cairo. Their conversation quickly spirals into a heated argument, culminating in Beatrice storming out, declaring she intends to file for divorce. Meanwhile, Winnie confronts Cairo, warning her that her actions could ruin Jonathan's career. Cairo, dismissive of Winnie's concerns, frames the situation as her greatest triumph and begins incorporating it into her college essay. She justifies her actions, portraying them as revenge for Jonathan's lack of respect and trust in her. Cairo's essay vividly describes the fallout of Jonathan's alleged misconduct, painting a dramatic picture of the chaos she has caused. As she finishes her writing, she sits back, appearing content with the turmoil she's unleashed. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to show your support if you enjoyed it by hit that like and subscribe button. See you in the comments and in the next one.